When you think about it, we humans are a pretty incredible species. We've managed to make a home on just about every corner of this planet. But how? How did we become the ultimate masters of adaptation? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. We're going to uncover the secrets behind our amazing ability to survive and thrive.
Seriously, just picture it for a second. The freezing, wind-swept plains of the Arctic, the blistering heat of the Sahara Desert, the dizzying, oxygen-starved heights of the Himalayas. We live there. Against all odds, we figured out how to survive in the absolute most punishing environments on Earth. So, what's our secret sauce? How is that even possible?
Okay, to really get it, let's take a look at what we're up against. High altitude is the perfect case study. You've got hypoxia, which is just a fancy way of saying there's barely any oxygen. You're battling bone-chilling cold, low atmospheric pressure, and a constant search for scarce resources. It is an incredibly hostile place that pushes life to its absolute limit. So here's our game plan for figuring this all out. First, we'll look at the extremes we face. Then we're going to open up our species' amazing adaptation toolkit. After that, we'll check out nature's own biological blueprints for survival. We'll put on an anthropologist's glasses to see the big picture, and tie it all together with the 4 fundamental laws of ecology. And finally, we'll cast our eyes to the future. Sound good? Let's jump in.
All right, part 1, surviving the extremes. We've already touched on high altitudes, but honestly, these same life-or-death challenges pop up everywhere, from the driest deserts you can imagine to the vast frozen tundra.
So how on earth do we do it? Well, it turns out we have a kind of secret weapon. You can think of it as our adaptation toolkit, a collection of survival strategies that our species has been sharpening for thousands and thousands of years. Inside this toolkit, we've got 2 main biological tools. On one hand, you have adaptation. This is the slow, deep, permanent stuff, genetic changes that happen over many, many generations. A perfect example is the unique biology of Tibetan people, which helps them thrive where the air is thin. Then, on the other hand, there's acclimatization. This is the short-term fix. It's what happens when your body makes quick, reversible changes to handle a new environment, like when you go on a ski trip and find yourself breathing a bit faster to adjust to the altitude. But here's the thing. Biology is only 2/3 of the story. Our third, and arguably our most powerful tool, is cultural adaptation. This is our genius for innovation. It's our ability to invent solutions, to create layered clothing, design insulated shelters, and develop smarter ways to get food. So you see, biology might give us the foundation, but culture is what lets us build a skyscraper right on top of it. And what's really fascinating is that these biological adaptations, they aren't random at all. Nope, they actually follow a set of predictable patterns. You could call them nature's blueprints for building a body that's perfectly suited for different climates.
Let's break down 3 of these blueprints. First up is Allen's rule, which basically says that in cold climates, it pays to have shorter arms and legs to hold on to body heat. Bergmann's rule's kind of similar. Bodies tend to be larger and stockier in cold regions for the very same reason. It's a great way to conserve heat. And then there's Glauger's rule, which helps explain why people in sunny, hot climates often have darker skin. That extra melanin is a brilliant built-in sunscreen. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and look at the even bigger picture here. How do we actually study this complex dance between our biology, our culture, and the world around us? Well, that's where the field of anthropology comes into play. Specifically, we're talking about a field called ecological anthropology, and it is all about untangling those incredibly complex relationships between us humans, the cultures we create, and the environments we call home. Now, this field didn't just appear out of nowhere. It has a really rich history, built on the shoulders of giants who thought deeply about things like population, resources, and of course, evolution. But a huge breakthrough came when we realized that culture isn't just a collection of random traditions, it is a primary, powerful tool for adapting to our environment. And the field of ecological anthropology is adapting too. It started out focusing mostly on small traditional societies, but now it's taking on massive global challenges, like climate change. Today's ecological anthropologists aren't just observing the world from a distance, they're in the thick of it, using cutting-edge tools like GIS and remote sensing to help solve some of our biggest problems. So now, let's take one final step back to see the biggest picture of all. Our human adaptations, as special as they are, don't happen in a vacuum. They are all part of a much larger system, a system that's governed by the fundamental, unshakable laws of ecology. The ecologist Barry Commoner boiled it down to 4 simple but profound laws that basically explain how nature works. Law number 1, everything is connected to everything else. You can't just change one thing because those changes will ripple through the entire system. Law 2. Everything must go somewhere. There's no such thing as away. Waste doesn't just vanish, it sticks around. Law 3. Nature knows best. You know, ecosystems have been fine-tuning themselves for millions of years. They're pretty good at it. And finally, Law 4. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Every single thing we take or use has a cost, somewhere down the line.
So, we've looked at our incredible toolkit, we've seen nature's blueprints, and we've covered the fundamental laws that govern the whole show. Now, for the final piece of the puzzle, what does this all mean for us, right here, right now? Let's talk about the future.
If there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. We are the ultimate adapters. It's our unique and dynamic blend of slow, biological change and lightning-fast cultural innovation that has allowed us to conquer and thrive in literally every corner of this planet.
But, and this is a big but, here's the catch. All of our success has been based on adapting to a planet with a relatively stable climate. Now we're facing a brand new kind of challenge, a world that is changing incredibly fast. A world that, let's be honest, we changed ourselves. So that leaves us with a huge, looming question. What will our next adaptation be? And more importantly, can we pull it off in time?